Sure. All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Yomi, Maseches Kedushin. Now we start off with some Mishnayos, some more well-known Gemaras, well-known Mishnayos. So the Mishnah on Chav Tes Amud Aleph says, "Kol mitzvahs haben ala av, anashim chayav nashim b'turos." Any mitzvahs that need to be performed upon the son, as the Gemara will soon explain, such as bris milah, so on and so forth, that is an obligation upon the father and not the mother. Not an obligation on the mother. And any mitzvahs on the child towards the parents, that is on both a son and a daughter, such as to honor one's parents and to fear one's parents, right? So that's both the son and daughter. Any mitzvah that is time incumbent, right? In other words, let's say tefillin or something that's only done during the day and not at night. Only men are obligated, not women. If the mitzvah is not dependent on it, such as tzedakah or whatever it is, both men and women are obligated. Any do not do, any violation, whether it's time dependent or not, both men and women are obligated to keep and not to violate any of those averos, except chutz, except for rounding one's head, i.e. the payas, rounding one's beard, right? That's I guess using a razor, let's say by the beard, or for a kohanim to be lamesim, only on the male kohanim, not the female.
What would be an example of a mitzvah's lo saseh bisman grumble?
Mitzvah's lo saseh. Right, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very good. So my mitzvahs have been from the top rows, right?
Mitzvahs essentials.
So the Gemara says, "My mitzvahs have been alav." What does it mean, mitzvahs of the son upon the father? If we were talking about mitzvahs that the son is obligated to the father, nashim b'turos, women are pater. It says over there. Let me just find the pasuk. Hey, hey, right? Is that pasuk? Hey. Oh yeah, so the Bryce. It says ish ein ish isha minayin sheomer ish imo v'aviv tiro, right? So she go ahead and fear his parents. Harei kan shnayim, right? It says tirau, right? Right. In other words, you shall fear them, right? So you plural. In other words, boy and girl. So this is what the Mishnah means mean in the Reisha. Kol mitzvahs haben motelas halav. Any mitzvahs that have to be performed on the son, those are on the father. Lasais lebno for a son. Anashim chayav and nashim duras. Only men are obligated, not women. And Tanina law, we have a Bryce that supports this. The Tan Rabbanon ha'av chayiv lebno l'maylo l'ftaiso. A father is obligated to go ahead and to give a bris milah to a son, to redeem him in case of he's a bachor, to teach him Torah, to marry him off, and to teach him a trade. And some say even also to go ahead and teach him to swim. Because I guess the mode of boats was boats were a mode of transportation. Right? Whoever does not teach his son a craft is teaching him how to be a thief. An actual thief. Like he's teaching a thief because he is not, given the tools to go ahead and support himself. It's off test. 29A2. 2 dots. 5 lines from the bottom of the skinny lines. 2 dots. Lomolo. To give a son a bris milah. That was the obligation upon the father, not the mother. So we know that. How do we know that? The Pasuk says that Avram gave his son a bris milah. And where the father did not do it, then based on his obligated to do it. The Pasuk says, "Himo lachem kol zachar." You should go ahead. You based in make sure all your males are belt by the Hecha. The basin didn't do it, then he grew up, then he's obligated to go ahead and make sure he himself get himself punishment. Because he'll be cut off if he does not, if he still has his foreskin. Say, how do you know that the mother is not obligated to the pasuk says Kasher Tziva Oso Elokim, like Hashem commanded him? Avram. So Oisav Loisa. Okay, we see then Avram was commanded. So the Doros Minol. And how do you know from generations after that? It wasn't just a unique circumstance by Avram Avinu. So time to Baby Shmuel. Kol Malkam Shnemar Tzav. Whenever it says Tzav, right? Tziva and Ella Ziruz Miyad Uladoros. Right? That has to then zeal immediately and for generations. And Zir the Chsiv Vetzavis Yoshuva Keil Vametzeyu. Don't do it with strength and do it with zeal, right? And miyad l'daras t'chsiv mino yom asher tziva Hashem halo l'daras seichem u'lufdais l'daras seichem, right? From the day that Hashem commanded you for generations. So we see that it was given to Avram Avinu, but it says tzav, therefore it should be done always with zeal and for generations. That it's upon the father to go ahead and not the mother.
Except that Tzipora gave her son a birth.
Yeah, but she wasn't commanded to. He was. It was the obligation was upon him. There wasn't the chiyuv, right? There wasn't a chiyuv upon her, right? So in
other words, it may not be a chiyuv, but she can do it.
Yeah, she can. There was no mitzvah, right? It's an obligation, or then it's an obligation on the person himself. So I guess they were katanim, so they couldn't go ahead and give it right. Now, what about opinion on Ben? Right, all of the bechor, your firstborns of your sons will should be redeemed. Let me forget. When the father didn't do it, then he himself should go ahead and do it. Or the double asham, then make sure you're redeemed. If your father didn't redeem you, then go ahead and redeem yourself. And how do we know that the mother's not obligated to go ahead and redeem? The chsiv says tifta. So as a tipada. Kol shemitzava liftois etzasmo, mitzava liftois etzachem. We darshan are there. Any mitzvah, anybody who is obligated to go ahead and redeem themselves, they are obligated to go ahead and redeem others. But if someone is not commanded to redeem themselves, i.e., a woman, therefore they would not be required to redeem others. And how do we know that the girl itself, females, are not obligated to go ahead and redeem themselves? You see, the pasuk says, "Tifada kol shachem mitzvah lefdaisa mitzvah lefdaisa asmo." And therefore, the others are obligated to go ahead and redeem. They are obligated to go ahead and redeem themselves. And if others are not obligated to redeem them, then they are not required to go ahead and redeem themselves. Which is circular. And how do we know that others are not required to go ahead and redeem a female? The pasuk says, "Kol bechor banecha." It says banecha. So therefore, they are not commanded to be redeemed. Since they're not commanded to redeem, others are not commanded to redeem them. And since those are not commanded to redeem them, therefore they have no requirement to go ahead and redeem others, i.e. there is no obligation upon the mother to go ahead and redeem if the father didn't do it. Tana Rabbanan, 2 lines from the bottom. Who leave dice? Who benai leave dice? Let's say he never had opinion about it and his son didn't, tshuva, whatever it is. Who kaidem lebenel? And let's say there's only 5 slaim. So he comes first, right? The Mr. Shabagufa. No, his son, you redeem your son and not you. Right? Because the mitzvah of reject that call. Send through voice. All right, fine. So now that this one has a mitzvah upon the Aviv, right? That this one has right. In other words, so his son, so the commandment is upon the father. So he's the father of the son. So therefore, he should go ahead and redeem his son first and not redeem himself. And the other one, he himself, the obligation was upon the father, the initial obligation. So therefore, redeem the son first, and then redeem themselves if you can find money later on. And everyone agrees. No, that's not true. If there's only 5 salayim, no, he comes before the son. Why? My taima mitzvah de gufa adifa, because it's a mitzvah on themselves. Mitzvah gufa adifa. Keep leaky. What's the machlokes? Heicha dika chamesh mishubadim v'chamesh b'nei charim. So now he has this. He has 5 salayim, and he also has. He used to have a field, right? And he has basically a field that that somebody else is encumbered by others. And it's not his. The field he has is basically was sold to others, and therefore there was no previous lien on it, right? So he sold it to others. Now, so what's the machlekes? Rabbi Yehuda Savar milva dechsi b'Torah k'suba shtar dam. The obligation to that one is written in the Torah, i.e., to pay 5 salayim for your son, to redeem your son. That is an obligation from the Torah, and since the obligation of the Torah, it's like it's written in a shtar. So therefore, from the day the boy was a month old, right, he basically had a shtar saying, I have to go ahead and redeem. So if somebody buys his land, there's actually a lien on his property for 5 salayim to go ahead and redeem it. So therefore, that lien comes first. He can actually go ahead and say, hey, the land needs to come back. So with this 5, so go ahead. Hey, I got a lien on this land. I can go ahead and sell the land and get the 5 salayim out of it, and use that money to go out the brave also coin. But and therefore one coin can go ahead and collect them with shubadim and the D-thing. In other words, he goes ahead, gives his own 5, his cash, he has 5 for himself. The one that's obligation to go ahead and redeem his son, then he can go ahead and collect from the Meshubad. But about in Savi, no, the rights of the law of the Sharadamya, it does not come first, and therefore there is no lien on that property. You can't go ahead and recollect that land. Rather, all you got is 5 salayim, and therefore, once again, 5 salayim, you are the son. Therefore, the mitzvah upon himself is adif because that's mitzvah shabagufa. Fine, turn about it. Leave dice as the no, let's say he has a choice. Time constraint, money constraint. So he either go ahead and do opinion of Ben or to be oil regal. So paydas beno bi'achar kach oil regal. To go ahead and redeem your son, that comes first, and afterwards be oil regal. No, oil regal. No, first do oil regal, then later on do opinion of Ben. Shazumas is averis, v'zumas is shein averis, because I can't do a regel in a couple of weeks, right? So therefore, since that's a mitzvah of veris, you're going to miss out on both. So therefore, at least you'll be able to do that. And later on, do Peter Ben. But if you do Peter Ben now, you won't be able to make up for a regel.
One has to be in a certain time frame.
No, because even if it wasn't, it could be done later on. Right. So Bishlam the Rabbi Yehuda Tama. I understand what Rabbi Yehuda says the reason because that's a mitzvah of veris. El Rabbanan my time. The Rabbanan why they say to go ahead and do the pidyon and not the regel. So then the pasuk says, "Kol b'chor b'decha sivte the hadar lo yav es paray reika." Right, because the pasuk says, right, go ahead and redeem, and then the pasuk says, "Don't see me empty-handed." Right, so therefore it says, "Do the pidyon first, and then the oil regal, then sing me." So therefore the pasuk tells you, "Do the pidyon first, not the oil regal." And therefore, in a chanami, you might go ahead and miss out on being oil regal. And how do we know if the person had 5 sons from 5 different women? Right, they're all firstborns to them. He has to go ahead and do pidyon by all of them. The part says, "Kol b'chor b'necha zivta." It says all of your sons, you should all of them, all of your firstborns, you could have multiple. So pshi, that's obvious. So pater rechem tale rachman, right? It has to do with the first one to come out of the womb, right? So it's each wife was the first one to come out of their womb. So Moshe said, maybe you can learn a gzer from nachla, from inheritance. Malo and Rashis, I know, just like by inheritance, in terms of the bechor gets pishnaim, it's only his firstborn. Even if he's firstborn by other women, nevertheless, only his firstborn would get a double portion. So Malo and Rashis, I know. Afkan Rashis, maybe over here also by pidyon event only if he's his firstborn. Now, but Kamash Malon, that is not Rashis. I know it depends on Pater Rechem.
5 boys first.
So that's what we just said, right? The Havamina was. Why did it teach? It's obvious. It has to do with the womb. So it says maybe you would have thought that it's similar to inheritance. the bechor, the inheritance, only it's the father's firstborn, and he gets all portion. Maybe it's the same thing by opinion. Kamash Malad is different. One has to do with the father, the other one has to do with being first one out of the womb of the mother. And also, the father's obligated lamdo Torah. So the pasuk said, "L'martem oisam as benechem." Right? You should go ahead and teach your sons, right? And where the father did not go ahead and teach, he is obligated. He's obligated to go ahead and make sure to teach himself, to make sure he learns. That's what the pasuk said. Right? You should learn. So, how do we know that she is not obligated to teach him? Anyone who has the mitzvah to learn, they have the mitzvah to teach. However, but someone is not commanded to learn, then they're not commanded to teach. So therefore, we'll soon see, since the women are not commanded to learn, therefore they're not commanded to go ahead and teach. How do we know she is not obligated to go ahead and teach herself? Because it says, all those who are others obligated to teach them, then mitzvah lamed is also. Then the mitzvah to teach yourself. But if the others are not commanded to teach them, then the person is not obligated to go ahead and teach himself. And how do you know others are not obligated to teach her? And therefore, even if they don't teach her, then she has to go ahead and teach herself. How do you know there's no obligation? It says it's benechem and not benoisech. So, fine. Assume they didn't darshan that yesterday at the scene. The Torah Rabbanan, who lilmod ubno lilmod. Let's say he needs to learn, and the son needs to learn. Who kaidem libno? He comes before his son. Who daimer? No, because we said Mr. Shiguvo adif. He says no. Imbano zaris umlach v'talmudo miskai biyado b'no kaidem. If his son is quick and able to learn and has a good cup, then his son comes first. The Rav Yaakov, the Rav Acha bar Yaakov, like that of Rav Yaakov, who was the son of Rav Acha bar Yaakov. So Rav Acha sent the son of Yaakov to go ahead and learn by Abai. And he saw he wasn't too sharp in his limudim. He wasn't such a strong student. So I'm a better student than yours. So Tovat Dazil. Right on the Shabbat, so he says Tovat does it. Oh no, right? So he says, no, you go out and I guess you earn a living. You know, if you only have money for one of us to learn by Abaye, I'm going to go ahead and learn because you know you were retaining nothing. So Shama Abaye the Kohavi also. So Abaye heard it was coming, and Havi Ho Mezak Beirabadim the Abaye. There was a certain shade demon. Right, that was sort of existing in the yeshiva of Abaye. Right, they usually shade them. They only attack at night. They only attack by single. But nevertheless, this shade was so bold that he would attack students even if they were going in twos, even during the day. So Amar Lahu, right. Nobody invited him to your house. I want him, Rav Acha, to go ahead and sleep in the base medrash. Let's say the base medrash because then the team will try and attack him, and he is strong enough that he will basically go ahead and knock out the shade. So actually, perhaps a miracle will be performed on his behalf to kill this, this shade. So all he got there. So Baslo Rabbanan, so even like Katzadina, the Shiva Rishasa. So he got to the base medrash. He had nowhere to stay, so he stayed there, and he saw this demon that appeared to have like a serpent with 7 heads, like a snake with 7 heads, called Kari. And every time he would bow down, there was tefillah that it would die. The Kari Nasser Chadresh, one of his heads would fall off, and then until he finally killed it. So really the Machar, Elois Charish Nisa Sakanisin. Thanks a lot, Abaye. Right? If a miracle didn't happen, then you put me in sakana. So meanwhile, but Abaye knew that he had such fusa, that he was so chashuv that the shade would not, hurt him, and therefore he'd be samech upon nanes. So Tanra Rabbanan limot her lisa isha to learn or to get married. You Torah first learn Torah yisi isha, then afterwards go ahead and get married. B'viev shar lo isha, but it's hard for him to go ahead and learn without a wife. Then yisi isha then go ahead and first get married, and afterwards learn Torah. And Amar Rav Yehuda Shmuel halacha. Now you say Isha Torah. Go ahead and get married first, and afterwards go ahead and learn Torah. And Rabbi Yochanan Omar Rechai B'Svaro Yasek Torah. Right, he's got a yoke. Right, he has all these responsibilities, and you're coming to learn Torah. How can he learn with all these responsibilities to make a living, to support? No, let him go ahead and learn first, and then after he's learned, then go ahead and get your responsibilities of supporting a family. It's not machlekes. This is by in Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, they would go ahead and learn in Eretz Yisrael. Therefore, the husbands would be located near home, and therefore they had the burden of supporting them. So therefore, it's better to go ahead and learn first. But in Babel, needs to go ahead and travel to Eretz Yisrael to learn. So therefore, they didn't really have the burden of making a living, and therefore get married first, and afterwards go learn. So Rav Chisda praised Rav Hamnuna to Rav Huna. All right, that Rav Hamnuna was Adam Gadol. So Amar Lek Shiavali Adecha Havi Eliyadi. Right, when Rav Hamnuna is in town, bring him to me. So Kiyasa Chazi Delei Parasudra. He saw he wasn't wearing a kerchief on his head. Wasn't wearing a Hamburg. So Amalei, my time Delei Parasudra. Why do you not have this cover upon your head? Some sort of turban or something. Amalei Delon Nesiva. I'm not married yet. I don't. I'm not. That's why I'm not wearing it. He turned his face around. He didn't want to look at him because he wasn't married. Right? See to it that I don't see you until you get married. I don't want to look at you as an older single bacher, even despite the fact you're Talmid Chacham. And Rav Huna Latame and Rav Huna went l'shitasa. The Amar ben Esim Shana v'leinasa Isha. Right, a person who's 20 years old and has not gotten married, Kol Yamav Bi'Avera. All of his days are in Avera. Mara says Bi'Avera Sagadaisa, right? Mamash Avera. Alema Kol Yamav Behira Avera. He has Hira Avera. He doesn't have a woman, so therefore, he's thinking about Hurim, and therefore go get married young by the age of 20. Now the Rebbe Chetan the Berishvel Ad Esrim Shana Yeshiv HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mitzvah Adol Masai Yisa Yisha. Up until 20 years, HaKadosh Baruch Hu waits for a person when he'll go ahead and get married. But also once he gets to 20, he's not married. Right then, basically, he's on his own. Right, he has a difficult time. He's late to the game. And I'm Rav Chisda. Hi, Dadifna Michavroi. The reason why I'm a bigger Talmid Chacham than my friends, not because I'm a bigger masmid, is why the Nasiva B'Shitzar, because I got married at 16. And if I 19, calm down. Right, and if I get married at 14, turn the page. I could have told the Sutton, arrows in her eyes. Basically, I could have talked trash to the Sutton, and he would not have affected me if I got married at 14. But I only got married at 16, and we'll stop here.